You've watched videos about focus, about discipline, about how to train your brain to be stronger, more productive, more present. You've written down the habits. Maybe you've even tried them for a few days and it froze again, and you know it's even harder than freezing up? It's the feeling that comes with it. That voice that says the problem is you, that you lack willpower, that everyone else can apply these things except you, that your brain is weak, slow, broken. But what if I told you the problem isn't your brain? What if the problem is exactly what you're doing to try and fix it? Because there's something no one is talking about in these productivity and mental development videos. And it's precisely this blind spot that's leaving you more exhausted with each attempt, more frustrated, more convinced that you are the problem. Today, we're going to talk about this. No list of habits to follow. No more pressure. Just clarity. If you've made it this far and have felt this frustration before, subscribe to the channel. Because this is exactly the kind of conversation we have here. There's an idea that seems obvious, logical, and is repeated in practically all self-improvement content. The idea that if you're not progressing, it's because you're not trying hard enough. That the solution for a weak brain is to train more, focus more, be more disciplined. But think about it. If you take a rusty knife and try to sharpen it with more pressure, without cleaning the rust first, without preparing the blade, you won't sharpen anything. You'll break what little was left. That's exactly what happens when you try to pile habits, routines, and discipline on top of a mind that's already at its limit. You're not training your brain. You're forcing a system that's already cried out for help. And the worst part is that when you fail, you don't think, this method wasn't for me right now. You think, I failed again? And the guilt accumulates, and the burnout increases. And it becomes harder and harder to start anything new. This is not weakness. This is the wrong cycle running at the wrong time. Now let me show you the first inversion. The one that appears most often in this content, and the one that causes the most damage when applied at the wrong time. Everyone says, train your focus like a muscle. Sit down, eliminate distractions, concentrate for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and it works. For those who already have a regulated nervous system, who have slept well, and who are not carrying accumulated emotional weight, this training makes sense. But for someone who is mentally overwhelmed, forcing focus doesn't create concentration. It creates resistance. The brain interprets this effort as yet another threat in an environment already full of threats. And then you sit down to focus, you can't manage it in 2 minutes. You feel like a failure, you give up, you pick up your phone, and the guilt hits even harder than before. The problem isn't a lack of focus. It's an excess of noise that consumes your focus before you even begin. Notifications, looping thoughts, unresolved decisions, unfinished conversations, worries you swept under the rug. All of this is running in the background all the time, silently draining your mental capacity. So before training focus, the right question isn't, how can I concentrate better? The right question is, what is consuming my mental energy without me realizing it? Clear the area before attempting to build within it. Second reversal. And this one is going to sting a little, because it's one of the most repeated phrases in all personal development content. Everyone says, be consistent. Show up every day. Motivation fades, discipline remains. And again, that's true. Under normal circumstances. But there's a huge difference between built consistency and forced consistency. And when you're exhausted, when your system is already at its limit, forcing consistency doesn't create a habit. It creates aversion. You start associating that activity, that habit, that routine with painful effort, with failure, with yet another thing you tried and couldn't maintain. And the brain learns quickly. It starts resisting even before you begin because it has learned that it hurts. That's why so many people who try to change their lives start strong, stop abruptly, and spend months unable to recover. It's not a lack of willpower. It's the brain running away from something it has associated with defeat. Sustainable consistency doesn't begin with grandeur. It begins too small to fail. So small it seems ridiculous. So small your brain has no reason to resist. 2 minutes. 1 page. 1 repetition. Not because this will transform you on its own, but because it will rewrite the narrative that you can't. And that narrative is what's holding everything back. Third reversal. This is the one that generates the most silent guilt in people. Everyone says, reduce dopamine overload. Stop scrolling. Stop watching short videos. Your brain is addicted to easy stimulation, and that's destroying your ability to focus. True, but incomplete. Because nobody asks why you pick up your cell phone. A person who is mentally exhausted doesn't use stimulation for pleasure. They use it for relief. It's an escape from a thought they don't want to think about, from an emotion they don't know how to process, from a silence that seems too heavy to bear. Taking your phone away without understanding what you're running from doesn't solve the problem. It creates a vacuum. And the brain fills that vacuum with anxiety, with looping thoughts, with that restless feeling that won't let you stay still. So the question isn't, how do I stop picking up my phone? The question is, what am I trying not to feel when I pick up my phone? When you can answer that honestly, your relationship with stimulation changes. Not because you've become more disciplined, but because you've understood what was underneath. If this makes sense to you, leave a like on the video now. This helps the channel bring this conversation to more people who need to hear it. Fourth, inversion. And this one is especially important for those who feel they lose control in the wrong situations, who react in a way they didn't want to, who know they should act differently but can't at the moment. Everyone says, develop emotional intelligence. Pause before reacting. Observe your emotions from a distance. Take a deep breath, and these tools work. But there's one condition that nobody mentions. They function when your nervous system is regulated. When you're chronically stressed, when you've been sleeping poorly for weeks, when you're overwhelmed with responsibilities and decisions, your brain literally operates in survival mode. The part responsible for reasoning, for pausing, for consciously controlling reactions takes a back seat. The alarm system takes over, and then someone says something in the wrong tone and you explode. Or freeze. Or cry without really understanding why. And then comes the guilt. I needed to pause. I needed to breathe. Why can't I control this? Because you were trying to use the brakes on a car with the engine on fire. Emotional regulation doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in the body. It begins with reducing the activation level of the nervous system before attempting to control any reaction. This means sleep. It means physical movement. It means real moments of rest. No screens, no stimulation, true rest. It means reducing the amount of unnecessary decisions and pressures in your day. When the body exits threat mode, the mind can do what you've always wanted it to do. The pause comes naturally. You can observe the emotion without being swallowed by it, but trying to develop emotional control without first regulating the nervous system is like trying to learn to swim in a current. The environment doesn't allow for learning. Fifth, inversion. And this is perhaps the most important of all. Everyone says, stop relying on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is what matters. And there's truth in that. But there comes a point when that phrase stops being advice and becomes cruelty. When you are genuinely exhausted. When your body and mind have already given clear signs that something is wrong, forcing more discipline on top of that isn't strength. It's ignoring an important warning. There is a real difference between laziness and burnout. And confusing the two is one of the biggest mistakes someone can make with themselves. Laziness is when you have energy available and choose not to use it. Burnout is when the system has nothing more to give, regardless of how much you push it. Laziness responds to the push. Exhaustion worsens with it. And how do you know which of the two you're experiencing? Laziness is usually accompanied by lightness. You're fine, you just don't feel like it. Exhaustion comes with heaviness. You wake up tired. Small tasks seem enormous. Things that once excited you have lost their shine. You're not unmotivated. You're out of energy. If you recognize yourself in this, the answer isn't more discipline. The answer is restoration first. Because you can't build anything solid on an empty foundation. So let me ask you an honest question. How many times have you tried to change, tried to improve, tried to apply some method, and then stopped halfway through and concluded that the problem was you? How many times have you watched content about discipline and left feeling more guilty than before watching it? This is no coincidence. It's the result of an entire market built on a false premise. That what you lack is effort, that if you're not progressing, It's because you're not trying hard enough. But what I want you to take away from this video is this: you're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because you're trying to build upon a system that hasn't yet been restored. You're trying to sharpen a blade without first cleaning off the rust. You're trying to train a muscle that's cramping. And the solution isn't to stop wanting to grow. The solution is to understand where you really are right now and start from there. Not from where you think you should be. Not from where others seem to be. From where you are, a regulated nervous system learns faster. A rested mind focuses more easily. A brain that is not in survival mode makes better decisions, controls emotions more naturally, and creates habits with much less friction. You don't need more effort. You need the right effort, in the right place, at the right time. And that starts with stopping the war with your own mind. Now tell me in the comments, which of these inversions made the most sense to you today? Which one describes something you've felt but never been able to name? I want to read what you have to say. If this video gave you any relief or clarity, please leave a like before you go. It makes a huge difference in helping the channel continue, bringing you this kind of conversation. And look at the video that's playing on the screen now. It picks up exactly where this one left off. See you there.